Trump administration mulls major tariff rollback to ease China tensions. The Trump administration is weighing a major tariff cut in upcoming talks with China, aiming to reduce tensions and economic strain. According to Bloomberg, the U.S. may lower tariffs to below 60%, hoping China will reciprocate. A key U.S. demand is the removal of China's export restrictions on rare earth elements, critical for industries like defense and electronics. Beijing, which controls about 90% of global rare earth production, imposed new curbs in April. Progress has also reportedly been made on addressing Chinese exports of fentanyl ingredients, with further discussions likely. U.S. and China strike positive tone in trade talks. Good news, expected Monday. The U.S. and China concluded 2 days of high-stakes trade talks in Switzerland on a positive note Sunday, with both sides signaling progress but withholding specific details. U.S. officials described a deal to reduce the U.S. trade deficit, while Chinese officials said they had reached important consensus and agreed to establish a new economic dialogue forum. Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng announced that a joint statement would be released in Geneva on Monday. Vice Commerce Minister Li Chenggang added it would contain good news for the world. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Trade Representative Jamieson Greer reported substantial progress and also confirmed that details would be shared Monday.
Nvidia plans weaker H20 chip for China amid US export curbs. Nvidia plans to launch a downgraded version of its H20 AI chip in China within 2 months, according to Reuters. The move is a response to US export restrictions aimed at limiting China's access to advanced semiconductor technologies. The revised chip will reportedly feature reduced performance, including lower memory capacity. Despite regulatory hurdles, China remains a key market, accounting for about 13% of Nvidia's sales in fiscal year 2025.
Trump eyes 4x nuclear surge to compete with China by 2050, New York Times. The Trump administration is drafting several executive orders to accelerate nuclear power plant construction, aiming to quadruple U.S. nuclear capacity from approximately 100 gigawatts to 400 gigawatts by 2050, the New York Times reports. The orders call for a wholesale revision of federal safety regulations, citing the need to catch up with China's nuclear expansion. While the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's independence may limit sweeping changes, the Department of Defense could play a major role by deploying reactors on military bases.
D-Wave's Quantum Leap, Advantage 2, launch set for Q2 2025. D-Wave highlighted key technical progress on its Advantage 2 quantum processors, now calibrated with 4,400 plus qubits, doubled coherence time, and improved energy scale. CEO Alan Barrett's announced the system will be generally available by the end of Q2 2025. The company posted Q1 2025 revenue of $15 million, up sharply from last year, driven by its first Advantage system sale. Gross profit reached $13.9 million with a 92.5% margin, and the $5.4 million net loss marked its lowest since going public.
U.S. and China agree to slash tariffs for 90 days. The U.S. and China agreed to a 90-day tariff truce during meetings in Switzerland, creating a new mechanism for ongoing trade negotiations. Under the deal, the U.S. will lower its added tariffs on Chinese imports from 145% to 30%, while China will reduce its retaliatory tariffs from 125% to 10%. However, pre-existing tariffs, including those imposed by President Trump during his first term, will remain. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent emphasized, "This is just a pause," clarifying that the reductions don't apply to industry-specific tariffs. De minimis tariff cut to 54%, as Trump says China will drop import barriers. A White House executive order issued Monday announced that starting May 14th, the U.S. will reduce the de minimis tariff on shipments from China to 54%, down from 120%, while maintaining a flat minimum fee of $100. The de minimis rule exempts shipments valued at $800 or less from U.S. duties. President Donald Trump said that as part of the new trade agreement, China has agreed to remove non-tariff barriers on U.S. imports. This includes suspending export restrictions on certain rare earth minerals and eliminating measures added to its export control lists since the trade war escalation. Tax credit clarity sparks rally in solar stocks. First solar upgraded. The House Ways and Means Committee released its portion of the budget bill, which J.P. Morgan analyst Mark Strauss said aligns with or exceeds the more bullish end of investor expectations for solar, wind, and geothermal firms. While tax credits are truncated, they remain unchanged through 2028 and phased down by 2032. A key provision bars products from prohibited foreign-influenced entities for projects starting 2 years post-passage. Strauss called this a significant positive for First Solar, given that 60% of the company's estimated earnings over the next 2 years are generated by 45X credits, and the limitations on foreign entities could provide a key competitive advantage. Wolf Research also upgraded First Solar to outperform with a $221 price target, citing clarity on 45X tax credits for the first time since election year politics started in early 2024. Strauss also sees the bill as positive for Array Technologies, Nextracker, Enphase Energy, and SolarEdge Technologies, but a mild negative for TPI Composites. He also noted the 45U nuclear credit phase down as a modest negative for GE Vernova, partly offset by more natural gas projects. Separately, Chinese media reported that a leading polysilicon producer had communicated with several other firms about cutting supply to support prices.
Nvidia powers Saudi AI ambitions with megachip deal and $500 million data center push. As part of the deal, Nvidia will supply chips to Saudi AI firm Humane for a 500 megawatt data center build-out using hundreds of thousands of Nvidia's top GPUs over 5 years. Phase 1 includes an 18,000-unit Nvidia GB300 Grace Blackwell AI supercomputer with InfiniBand networking. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman recently launched Humane, which is backed by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. Humane CEO Tarek Amin said the company plans to build 1.9 gigawatts of data centers by 2030, according to Bloomberg. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is considering a deal allowing the UAE to import over 1 million Nvidia chips, Bloomberg reported. The tentative agreement would permit 500,000 advanced chips per year through 2027, with 1/5 allocated to UAE AI firm G42 and the rest to US companies building UAE data centers. OpenAI may announce a new data center in the UAE as soon as this week, but said the US government must first ease export restrictions on Nvidia's high-end chips, which are required to run the proposed facility. AMD Partners with Saudi AI startup Humane for $10 billion expansion. Advanced Micro Devices has entered into a multi-year $10 billion partnership with Humane, a new AI enterprise owned by the Public Investment Fund in Saudi Arabia. The agreement includes deploying 500 megawatts of AI compute capacity in Saudi Arabia over the next 5 years.
Apple unveils brain-computer interface for iPhones, empowering those with limited limb control. Apple announced new accessibility features on Tuesday, including a brain-computer interface to control iPhones. The neural feature, called Switch Control, was developed in collaboration with Synchron, a company that creates implantable neural interfaces. Synchron offers a device known as StentRoad that incorporates electrodes to read brain signals, similar to Elon Musk's Neuralink. By incorporating this technology into its devices, Apple could open up access to tens of thousands of people who have limited or no control of their limbs. Apple also introduced several new accessibility features, including eye tracking and head tracking for controlling iPhones or iPads, assistive access for a simplified Apple TV experience, music haptics for a full song or vocal haptic experience, name recognition for sound recognition to assist deaf or hard of hearing users, and an expanded voice control programming mode with more language support.
Airbnb expands beyond rentals, personal trainers to Michelin star experiences coming this summer. Airbnb is enhancing its home rental offerings by introducing new services to rival hotel experiences. These services include connecting guests with travel guides, personal chefs, estheticians, and other professionals through Airbnb services and experiences. Airbnb services allows guests to book services such as spa treatments, photography, and personal training, with professionals vetted for experience and credentials. Guests don't have to stay at an Airbnb rental to use these services. Additionally, Airbnb Originals will push the boundaries of experiences with one-of-a-kind events led by celebrities, professional athletes, and Michelin-recognized chefs. Chat, Click, Buy, Perplexity adds in-chat shopping with PayPal and Venmo. Perplexity, an AI-powered search and chat engine, has introduced a new commerce feature that allows users to purchase products directly within the chat interface using PayPal or Venmo. Unlike OpenAI's shopping feature, which assists users in ChatGPT search but requires them to leave the chat to complete purchases, Perplexity's tool enables in-chat transactions. PayPal CEO Alex Chris said, "This partnership unlocks new possibilities, where conversations now drive commerce."
Rocket Lab nails 2 Earth returns in 2 months with Varda's hypersonic capsule. Rocket Lab announced a record turnaround with 2 Earth return missions completed in just 2 months. Its Pioneer spacecraft enabled the successful re-entry and landing of Varda's W3 capsule at the Kuniba test range in South Australia. This marks the second successful return of Varda's hypersonic capsule using Rocket Lab's medium Delta V Pioneer platform. So far, Rocket Lab has successfully built, tested, integrated, and managed on-orbit and de-orbit operations for 3 of the 4 contracted missions for Varda. Tesla to resume shipping Chinese parts for Cybercab, semi-trucks amid eased trade tensions. Tesla is reportedly set to begin shipping components from China to the US by the end of this month to manufacture its Cybercab and semi-trucks. The move follows a temporary tariff truce between the US and China, easing the previously high import duties on each other's goods.
Spire Global lands spot on $237 million US Space Force STEP 2.0 contract. Spire Global announced that it has been selected by the US Space Force's Space Systems Command for a spot on the Space Test Experiments Platform 2.0 program. The 10-year contract, part of the Department of Defense's broader space test program, has a ceiling of $237 million. Spire is one of 12 companies eligible to compete for future task orders to design, build, integrate, and operate satellite buses carrying experimental payloads.
China lifts rare earth export ban and 90-day trade truce with US. China has lifted its export restrictions on rare earth elements and other military-use goods for 28 U.S. entities, effective for 90 days starting Wednesday. The move is part of a broader U.S.-China trade agreement that includes major mutual tariff reductions. The original bans, imposed in April as a response to U.S. tariff hikes, targeted 7 types of rare earths and were initially aimed at 16 U.S. entities before expanding to 28 entities.
Oil drops as Trump hints at imminent US-Iran nuclear agreement. President Donald Trump said Thursday that the US is close to finalizing a nuclear deal with Iran, noting Tehran has sort of agreed to the proposed terms, according to Reuters via AFP. Oil prices fell on the news as the prospect of lifted sanctions raised concerns about increased supply. An unexpected rise in US crude inventories further contributed to fears of oversupply.
Rogue devices found in Chinese solar inverters spark U.S. grid fears. Undocumented communication devices have been discovered in some Chinese-made solar inverters and batteries, raising U.S. national security concerns, Reuters reports. These rogue components, such as hidden cellular radios, could potentially bypass firewalls and be used to disable or alter power grid functions remotely. One source warned that effectively means there is a built-in way to physically destroy the grid. In response, U.S. utilities, including Florida Power and Light, are considering banning or reducing the use of Chinese inverters in their infrastructure. Archer Aviation to fly high as official air taxi of LA 2028 Olympics. Archer Aviation has been named the official air taxi provider for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympic and Paralympic Games. The company's Midnight eVTOL aircraft will transport VIPs, fans, and stakeholders while supporting emergency services and security. Archer will develop a network of vertiports at key Olympic venues and transport hubs across the city, including the stadium in Inglewood, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, Los Angeles International Airport, Hollywood, Orange County, and Santa Monica.
Abu Dhabi launches largest AI campus outside US, powered by clean energy. President Trump and UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan unveiled the first phase of a 5-gigawatt AI campus in Abu Dhabi, the largest outside the US. The facility, built by UAE's G42, will host US hyperscalers and major companies, providing regional computing power. It will use nuclear, solar, and gas energy to reduce emissions, according to the US Department of Commerce.